Welcome to Nightmare Stories of the Other Side. Joining us today, we have Bill Tabone, who, with his wife Amanda, founded Australian Paranormal Society. Bill has been in the field of the paranormal research for 39 years and has been fortunate enough to investigate phenomena across the world, including the USA and the UK. Bill and Amanda are both authors and have appeared on many TV and radio programs and in many books and magazines regarding the paranormal. They believe in educating the public so as to bring the paranormal into the mainstream of society. If you want to catch Bill stateside, he'll be lecturing at the Lone Star Paracon in Texas this March. Welcome in, Bill, and tell us a bit more about yourself.
G'day, guys. Well, I think you said a lot, but I'm a married father of five, ranging from 15 up to 33. They're all in the field. All my kids are in the field in some form. Um, yeah, that's pretty much it. We love what we do. We love the paranormal. Love traveling. Seeing different locations. History is a big part of what we do, part of what I love. Yeah, and that's pretty much me. Always up to try to experience new things in the paranormal, and have new experiences. Yeah, and bring those experiences to other people as well.
So, how did you get your start in the paranormal all those years ago?
Well, my first investigation, I was 19 years old, and I always say it was an attempted investigation because it was a bit of a debacle. We back then we didn't have all the gadgets. We were using basically an old VHS video camera, the one where you had the big pack with a video in it, and
Oh yeah.
we tried those sort of things, and it was just an attempt. But personally, I've always had, since before I can remember, this drive or this passion about all things strange. Ghosts, UFOs, cryptids, anything I could get my hands on or anything I could watch, I was drawn to it. And it all culminated at that point when I was 19, when we decided, myself and there was a couple other people that I knew were interested. I dragged them along. We took what we knew, which was very, very little, and tried to do some sort of investigation, it's from there it's just been uphill. But I had a couple of experiences that sort of pushed me along a bit more. But I believe some people are born to be in the field, or they're drawn to this field, and I believe I'm one of them. And that's as I said, I can't even tell you when it started. It was there all the time as far as I know.
So, I don't really know too much of haunted locations in Australia, but what would be some, memorable locations that you could tell us about down there?
Absolutely. Well, I come from I come from the state of Victoria. So Victoria is there's a couple of really good ones we have here. I'm fortunate enough to have investigated most of them and been involved with them. The biggest one would be what's Arradale Asylum, which is down in a country town called Ararat. It's this asylum. It's up on a hill. In its day, it was the biggest asylum in the Southern Hemisphere. Had 65 buildings. I spent a lot of time there. We used to be able to be locked. We used to go in there for weekends. So we go on Friday, we'd sleep there and investigate to the Sunday. And then I was running tours there's a tour guide there who's a good friend of mine. And once a month I used to take a public in there and we'd do an investigation tour. So we had a lot of experiences there. I actually wrote a book called Ghosts of Arradale Asylum. And there's a bunch of stories in there. So it is pretty, a very, very full on site. I've had full-bodied apparitions. In one weekend, for example, we captured 87 Class A EVPs. Now,
Jeez,
almost unheard of,
Yeah.
As I said, full-bodied apparitions. We had what's called a crawl. We seen crawlers there, crawlers, spirits that you see, and they sort of on the ground,
Yep.
sort of deformed spirits. We've had all sorts of things. We had a 3 to 4 foot iron bar thrown at us.
Oh, geez.
I've seen people. I've had to carry people out of buildings because they've been affected. Hey, I've had people faint. Had to carry them out. And I shouldn't laugh, but it's almost something I always say. Some of the things we experience, if you saw them in a movie, you would think, no, that's all rubbish. It's not, but it is. It's very active. But there's also other places like, for example, a site called Trades Hall, which is the oldest operational trades hall in the world, continually operational trades hall, and it's a massive building. And I run investigation tours there, and they say there's only been one death there, but there's so much in there. There's so many spirits. One of the best EVPs I captured, I was asking the question. I said, so there's only been one death in this location. And then there's a reply was that you know of. and we already know there was more. We've received information there was so much more. But that's a really great location, and nothing really negative in there, but just the contacts were great. Other ones, I mean, I do the whole CBD in Melbourne. There's so many buildings in there that are haunted that we've investigated, and we've got so much. It's I always say Melbourne it's actually only 190 years old this year, so it's quite a young city. And they say, people say to me, how can it be so haunted? And how can there be so much activity? And I said, well, we had the gold rush, we had rebellion, quite small rebellion, but it was a rebellion. We had gangland wars. We've had fruiterers, markets, where they sell fruit. They're all they were run in the 50s and 60s by mobsters, and there was wars there where people were murdered. So there's a lot of history of violence and such. We had how many people can say that the bandits, the criminals back in the day wore suits of armor? We had a bandit that his gang wore a suit of, they used to wear armor, helmets and everything. His name was Ned Kelly, and things like that. So there's so much history all crammed into such a small period of time, and that's why there's so much activity in this place. But one of the other places is a place called Bundura Park Farm, which is like a historic village. Again, I run tours there as well, and it has, for such a, it's a farm. What do you expect? Across there's like a main road. Across that road there was an old asylum called Larundel, and all the energy comes across from that asylum into this place, and the activity you get there is crazy. So we have such a number of great places. Yeah.
Sounds like it.
I could keep going. There's so many, but
yeah. Now that asylum was 65 buildings. Are most of those buildings still standing, or
a majority of them? There was a lot that have gone. It's I can't tell you how many buildings are left there now, but this was a massive building. Like the main building, as you drive up to the front where they would have brought the patients in, it's a massive horseshoe. I know it's like 3 stories high. If you can look it up, Arrowdale Asylum, and you'll see the front of it's just Gothic, and then this horseshoe goes off, and it sort of has offshoots of buildings. And as you enter, on the right hand side was the men's wards, and on the left hand side was the female wards. And then there's a big building in the center, which is like a massive. It's 3 stories as well, but it's like a massive hall, and that's where they used to feed people. And there was doctors' offices, doctors' recreation in there, and but that's where we used to sleep. So when we stayed there, we've had everything in there. As I said, we even had a doppelganger try to lure one of my team into a building, pretending to be my wife and myself.
Oh, jeez.
He knew where we were, so he actually come and got us. And this guy was 6'4", he's a big boy, and he's pretty experienced. But he come there and he was white. Like he said, well, something just tried to get me to go in this building, and he could see Amanda. And Amanda, was calling him, "Come on, come here, Bill's hurt." And then he heard me calling out, and ended up coming to us and saying it. So we ended up going in there and trying to track it down and see what it was. But we got a couple of things, but not a lot. But it hit, I think. So yeah, interesting place.
Yeah.
Another really weird story from that place, and it's not paranormal, but they have a morgue. If you go into this, it's a massive location, and right down in the far corner there's the morgue. And my wife, being a medium, there's outside is a massive peppercorn tree. Now the peppercorns hide the smell of the decaying bodies, but Amanda stopped, and the guy that runs the place, she said to him, "Why am I seeing body parts hanging in the trees?"
What?
He said, "You could not know that." She goes, "There's only one very small article from a newspaper back in the 1800s. That's when the Auditor General for the colony come down, they had body parts. They were drying body parts by hanging them in this tree."
Oh wow!
And how horrific! But she picked that up, and this guy was like, he loves my wife, this guy, because she tells it how it is. And she said, "Yeah, why is there body parts in the tree?" And he said, you couldn't know that. He said, "I found that article," and he that's all he does is research. And he said, "I found that article, and by chance, you wouldn't find it normally." So that's a pretty horrific story.
Oh,
Yeah,
for sure.
To see these body parts. Yeah.
Yeah, you're talking about cryptids. What kind of cryptids do you have over there?
It's not my forte, but yeah, we have some cryptids. We have the obligatory big black cats, the panthers. I actually saw one once. I was working up at a festival. A friend of mine who was crazy about the paranormal, he ran this massive, he's passed away now, unfortunately. He ran this massive festival called Earthcore, and it was all techno music, not my thing, but he said, during the day, I need something to do during the day for the people. And he loved paranormal. And he used to run a hotel, which was an old police station. And I met him when I went in there and said, "Hey, listen, I want to investigate this place." And, we become great mates. And he goes, I want something during the day. He goes, "Can we work, maybe some speakers or something?" Yeah. So we ended up getting this big tent, like a marquee, you fit 100 people in there. And he put bean bags in there for people. And then I'd organized for the Friday, Saturday, because this thing went from like Thursday to Sunday. And the Friday, Saturday during the day, I'd organized like four speakers for the day. Start about lunchtime, before all the music started, and they come in and they give a talk, and people can just wander in, sit down, and they're all had a big night the night before, so they're pretty tired. So they sit there and they listen to these people. And we even brought David Weatherly over from the States there to talk, and it was a great thing. Anyway, it was up in the bush, and I'm driving home, and I stopped on the side of the road for something, and I look across at this field, and in the distance there's this big black cat walking right across, and the long tail, and I was like, that's something you don't see every day. I tried to take a photo, but I had at that time I only had an old phone. It wasn't great. But that was one experience. But we have things like the Yowie, which is the equivalent of Bigfoot.
Okay.
It's I can tell you some stories. A friend of mine who's right into it, a very, very smart man, and he runs a media company. He does a lot of videos, paranormal stuff and like that. But he's right into it. He had an experience up in the Blue Mountains, which is in New South Wales, where they went on this expedition. They were down in this valley, and they could hear these creatures walking around them, and then they started throwing sticks at them, so to get out. And they followed them. They decided to leave, and they were throwing these sticks at them the whole way up till they left.
Yeah.
Then they got up, and they're standing on the edge of this thing, looking down, trying to see if they could see any of them. and big boulders like this started coming up.
Oh, no.
One landed right next to him, and this is one gentleman that I would. I know he doesn't lie, and he's very, very smart. Like, he's a really smart guy, and he just said they didn't want us there, so we left.
Yeah,
that's the sort of thing, and it's interesting. But we also have we have other much more elusive cryptids, like one's called a bunyip. Now, bunyip's like a creature that lives in. Imagine a waterhole, a creek or a river, and we call waterholes in Australian billabongs, right? So these creatures hide in there. They're a really strange description. I'm not even going to try to describe them, but and what they do is when something comes close to the water, they come out and they grab it and eat it.
I want to say I've heard of them before.
You have? Yeah, it's really strange. There's a lot of cryptids in Aboriginal culture as well that you hear. Giant snakes, giant lizards, so we don't. Some I believe in, some I think are more legend. But the yowie definitely, and I know the big cats are out there because, as I said, I've seen them myself.
Sure.
Yeah. Yep.
Cool.
Yeah. Interesting. There you go.
Oh yeah, for sure. Let's see. What I lost my train of thought here. Oh yeah. So you've appeared, it says, on many TV and radio programs. Were those like for paranormal or non-paranormal?
Yeah. A lot of them through my friend that runs the media there. They have a paranormal investigator series. They have a series called In Tenebris, which means in the darkness. Those sort of things, and also a show called Haunted Australia. I appeared on there talking about Arrowdale Asylum, and a bunch of other little ones. I even appeared on Good Morning San Antonio when I was over there. I don't know whether you've been to San Antonio. There's a Texas Ranger Museum. It's like a bar and it's got a museum.
Okay.
And I had my son with me. He's 22 now. He was 13 then. I had my APS T-shirt on, and we sat down to grab a drink, and they were filming, and we thought, that's interesting, and we're having a chat. And this bloke comes over and says, "Well, do you want to be on San Antonio? Good Morning San Antonio?" I said, "Yeah." So we went over there and they did a segment with me, but little bits and pieces here and there, and radio, like podcasts, is every probably once a month, or I'll be on some sort of radio show or podcast. It's just people. We pride ourselves on being very professional in what we do, building a good reputation. Like you guys, you want to present yourself the best you can, and that gets around. You know what I mean? And you by doing those sort of things, I believe we're one, educating the public. We're out there talking to people, and we're making people aware that we are there, and they can contact us if they have any questions. So, and newspapers and magazines and all that sort of stuff. So it's Amanda hates anything public. She doesn't do public. But she's the one that gets all the contacts. They all want to speak to her because she's a really good medium. She works on cold cases with the police and all that sort of stuff. And they contact her and say, "Oh, we want to have you on." She goes, "Yeah, I don't do public stuff, but you can talk to my husband." So I get these things by proxy. So yeah.
So
I've always thought the biggest thing with instructing the public is to let them know that it's not that scary. The paranormal is just not really that scary.
Hollywood has a lot to answer
so
for.
Scared, but
yeah, exactly. I think a lot of it, as I said, is like Hollywood. They watch movies and they see those sort of things, and a lot of people believe based on a true story. Yeah, maybe the story might be that something happened, and then they've changed it 100 times to make it
for sure.
So Hollywood has a lot to answer for, and and human nature, we fear what we don't understand. So that's why people are so scared. I mean, and by educating them, and even when we do cases, sometimes, as you know yourself, you go there and 99% of the time they say, oh, I've got a demon in my house, right? And you go, no. I've actually done cases. I've had to go to cases after other less informed teams have been there because they've told these people you have a demon in your house. I've had several cases, and there's a couple of people here that are in Victoria here that are just terrible, and they shouldn't be doing this. And one lady actually, we went there, we sorted it out, but she still ended up selling her house because she was so scared.
Wow.
Another lady rang me. She was in tears because people went in there and told her she had a demon in her house, and it wasn't. She lived in an area where there was an old orchard, and the owner of the orchard, his house passed away. Obviously, was not far away. Now, this lady was a Wiccan or a pagan or whatever
Yeah.
And he didn't like. He was a Christian. He didn't like that, so he was making it. Stirring, giving her a hard time. So it wasn't a demon. It was just, the local, landowner, wasn't happy with her religious beliefs. And, we sorted that, But that's why I think people need to be educated. And even other teams, many teams have come. I don't preach that I know everything, and I don't. I'm learning everything every day. I'm learning every day. So at least that's my goal. But I like to make sure if there's teams that come to me and say, look, we're starting out, how do I start or what do I do? I'll say, well, I can tell you how I do things. It's not the same as everyone else does. So when I do lectures, I do training courses, I do all sorts of things. And it's always, this is how the APS do it. This is not everyone. This is how we do it. So, I'll show you how we do it. And hopefully then you have a base to start with. And they also have people they can come back to, not just myself, people we associate with, that if they need guidance or they need help, they have that base. And that's how I think we're gonna take this fear away in some way.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah,
I think that asks my question, because I was just going to jump in before Chad spoke up asking about home investigation. So that just kind of went right to my question. So
no worries. What would you like to know?
Well, no, I was just going to ask if you've ever done home investigations, but then kind of just
thousands.
You just kind of went right into it. So
well, big part of what we do is we basically have like four things that we do. So research. So we conduct research. We have a workshop. We call it a studio here that we ran our workshops in. And Amanda has what we call the spirit room. So she does her cold case work there, and when she helps people and things like that. And so we do research. So one part of it is research. Then the education, which is the training, the lectures, that side of thing. And that also crosses over into the events when we've got people coming to events, explaining how the equipment works, and this is how we do it, and getting them involved. So the events and the training sort of cross. And then we have the investigation side. So where we help people, and when we're doing a house investigation, it's all as probably you guys are saying, we have several interviews. So when someone's saying they got something wrong, we'll chat to them. We'll have this interview process where we talk to them on the phone, then we talk to them face to face. We inspect the location before we even investigate, and we look for any signs, obviously, that anything that might be causing them to experience stuff. Like as you guys would know, high EMF can create audio and visual hallucinations and can affect the body. Same with black noise, infrasound. These sort of things. So we do all that before we even try to see what's going on the paranormal side. And then we'll go into your investigation as we do, and hopefully be able to provide a solution in some way. Some people don't. Some people just want to know what's there, and we can do an investigation, see what we can find, and let them know. But also, we, for example, when we do a house cleansing, we'll go in there and whatever each investigation is separate. We have sort of base idea, that we use to establish whether a case is viable or whether we want to go forward with it or whether we can help. And then the case becomes individual. So then because every case is different. And part of what we do is when we're in there, we'll teach the people, how to cleanse their house, how to use spiritual protections and things like that if they want to learn. And it all comes down to, if we can educate these people to like that, we can take away their fear and give them their strength back. So their home becomes their home again and not a prison.
Yeah.
And again, not everything's bad. Like, 99% of it's not bad.
Right.
A lot of times it's just somebody that was crabby in his life, and he still is now.
Yeah, or old Auntie Mary's come to visit, and she's not doing anything bad. She's just hanging around. You know what I mean? I live in a house. Well, this house here, there was a unsolved murder in here, and we actually come in 6 years before we bought the place and had to help these people because they were experiencing a lot of stuff. This guy was angry, and we moved him on, and we actually since then we did our research. Mandy did her thing, and she got the names and the information of what happened, and she's passed that on to the police. Now, the problem with her thing, so here people come in, they go, "You live in a murder house?" If you take an Uber here or a taxi, on their record, it's actually our home is actually marked as the murder house, right? So the Uber driver will say, "Oh, you live in the murder house." My mum used to live with us, and she had to take a taxi, and they pulled up, and the taxi driver goes, "Oh, this is the murder house," and she goes, "I know." And this little old lady gets out and walks in, but the thing, like what we're saying, we got the information of who did it and what happened, and the thing is with Mandy's work, the police then need to actually verify that where they can present it to court. Do you know what I mean? So that still hasn't been solved. They're still working on that, but it's interesting. You know what I mean? It really is. Home investigations, how people react, and and such. Yeah.
Definitely. So, for your travels across the world, what are some locations that you did over in the UK?
We did an event in, and I always get this name wrong. It's Whittington Castle, which is down on the Welsh border. A friend of mine over there, again, he started a group there where, called Paranormal Friends. They used to do investigation. They used to do a lot of tours as well, and they've since stopped the tours and are sort of focusing more on the investigations. But he set up an event there for me at this castle. So we had people come there, and we went over there, and we did the whole thing. It was actually really good. But the travel on that is an interesting story. But this castle was it's quite a small castle, but we had a lot happen. Like for example, do you know what an oubliette is?
I don't.
A castle, what it is where they used to. It's basically like a cell, but there's an opening. You drop people down in there and you leave them there to die, so they starve to death. It's pretty horrible. It's a very horrible thing. But we're standing there and we could hear pebbles being thrown, so they're bouncing off the wall, right? Things like that. We were inside the castle in in the tower, and down the bottom we had the people, and we were doing. So you do a lot of the old spiritualist stuff. So they were using I don't know, it was a Ouija board or something similar at that point. And I was just doing some filming, and no one was upstairs. Everyone was in this room, and we heard this scraping across the floor above us. And up there was really only a big table and a couple of chairs. So one of the guys, my mate's son and myself, we ran upstairs. And this table, we knew where everything was because we'd taken photos. This table had been dragged across the floor. So a lot of things were happening there. That was really interesting. But the travel story is funny with it. Oh, not funny. It's pretty sad actually. I was supposed to go there. My son was supposed to come with me. We were then going to go to Ireland and do a little bit of investigating a couple of castles in Ireland. Then we were going to head to Malta, where my father comes from, and see family. Unfortunately, my son at that point, again, I think he was 14, about 2 weeks beforehand, decided to go to his friend's house and go on the motocross bikes and do jumps. My son's never done a jump in his life on a bike, right? Anyway, he does his jump. I get a phone call. Joe's hurt himself. I went, what? Yeah, he's down at this place. And this place was in the middle of nowhere. Like they had 3 ambulances trying to find this location because he hurt himself. Anyway, they couldn't even get a trolley there to bring him out. They had to get him up and walk him out. But anyway, I got there first, and I see my son, half his face is blood, and he's sort of all hunched over. And my boy now, he's a big boy. He's 6'4". He's built like a truck. Like he's a big boy, but he's big even then. But what he'd done is he jumped and he landed sideways on his head. It turns out he fractured 3 vertebrae in his neck.
Ooh.
Collapsed the lung. It didn't do things by half. Like it was nasty. Anyway, so lucky I had travel insurance. I had to cancel that. A week before that, my mother had a mild stroke, and Mandy. So this whole thing was going to crap. So I ended up flying out of Melbourne on the Thursday night. I got to London on the Friday. I had to take a 4-hour train journey up to this castle. I did this castle event and spent Sunday with my friend exploring jails and things. Sunday night, I took a train back to London and jumped on a plane back to Australia on the Monday afternoon. So, it was a bit of a disaster, but, when I had this thing sold out, I had the plane ticket paid for, I had to go and do it. So, yeah, that's one event I'm never going to forget. I can tell you that.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah. So, yeah, a bit of a side story there. I'm sorry about that.
No, that's all good. So what are some other locations you've done in the UK?
We spent some time in, I've been there a couple of times. I was lucky I went there when I was younger, and I was sort of dabbling, but I wasn't actually investigating. But I had a go at a place called Kenilworth Castle, which is a ruin. We did a couple of little churchyards and things like that. Not a lot of time there, basically, but we did a little bit at Warwick Castle as well. I was able to spend some time there, which is magnificent castle. And I always say to people, if you're interested, you can't get in there and actually do a proper investigation. When you're traveling, find these locations, and I always say find the quietest time. Ring them up and say, well, what's your quietest time, and head down there and do your thing. Spend a little bit of time, find somewhere to sit, turn your voice recorder on when there's no one around, and ask some questions. So you don't have to set up gear and things, but so a few castles, a few churchyards, even the Tower of London. I got to spend some time in there.
Nice.
During the day, but it was I tried to pick the quietest time, but there's no quiet time at the Tower of London.
No.
But you walk around and you have spots where people aren't. So you try to just try. For me, it's not even so much the investigation; it's being there and experiencing the energy. Experiencing the place. Yeah, I had a lot more time in the US, but so to do these sort of things. So, but the UK, yeah, I've done a little bit there. It was interesting place. I'd love to actually spend get a camper van or an RV or something and just work my way through all the different locations.
Oh, definitely. Yeah, I've never been over there, but someday I want to get there.
Yes, yeah, no, I recommend it. But I've been to the US 3 times and coming up to my 4th, and I love the US. That's like for me, it's like a second home. I just absolutely adore the place. There's so many locations that you guys have.
Oh, I know. It's just insane how many there are over here.
Yeah, it's brilliant. But we were there. We were actually there. I took my wife and my youngest September, October last year. and we did the Queen Mary and Alcatraz at night, and yeah, we actually got we were lucky. We got there, and we wore our t-shirts, so bit of advertising while we're overseas, sort of thing. And one of the docents, an old guy, actually said, "Oh, you do that? Come with me." He took us, and he got one of his guys to take us down into the citadel underneath. So we got to experience all that, and spent some time down there, and that was fun. And then yeah, so then we went up and we did San Antonio, and stayed at the Menga Hotel, and then New Orleans and the Myrtles. We stayed at the Myrtles, which was great. And then Gettysburg. We spent a week in Gettysburg. It was on nearly a week, nearly 7 days, and that was good. That was really cool. So I there's so many places, and I just I really love it there. Yeah.
So, what are some of the best experiences you've had investigating over here?
Oh well, I had a lot. I'm putting all the footage. I'm still working on the footage. So I just started a YouTube channel, which I haven't even advertised. So this is this is putting it up there. But we had a bunch of experiences on the Queen Mary. I got a bit of footage, which I only found just last week, and we're near the pool area. I don't know Queen Mary, there's a pool area. The pool was shut. They were doing some renovations, but we sort of around the side, and there's basically a dead end. There's some doors, but they're all shut. They're all locked. No one can get through. And Amanda's standing in front of me, and I'm standing back here. And I had a new GoPro. I was trying to work out how to use it, so the footage is a little bit shaky. But other than that, I'm filming and asking questions. We're just doing an EVP session, and 4 shadows come across, 1, 2, 3, 4 in between me and Mandy, and that was really cool. Alcatraz, I had a couple of things happen there, like strange photos and things like that. But best place I've been to Gettysburg 3 times, and always had some great experiences there. Jenny Wade House. First time we were there, we were down in the basement. We had an old ovilus, and I've got it recorded. It's actually really cool. And now it started saying things like bread. So Jenny was baking bread. 20. She was 20 when she died. So these things all in all shot, and then it went quiet. And there was a couple other things. Then it went quiet, and it actually says Jenny Wade.
Mm.
That's not in an ovilus. And that was interesting. The orphanage, I had a lot of interactions with kids, and I had a bite. I got bitten there on my leg, and I got photos of that. And it's actually about the size of a child's bite, and you can see the teeth marks.
Trying to get your attention.
What's that? Sorry.
Trying to get your attention.
Yeah. I went to, my son was with me, and we're actually staying at the Fairfield Inn, just outside Gettysburg, and sat down, took my socks off, and what's that? And you could see the teeth marks. Yeah. But down in that basement, I climbed into a little hole. There's like I don't know, there's like a cave almost, a tiny little cave, and the twist Rosa Carmichael, which was the house mistress, used to put kids in there, and basically it was really, really cruel. And I went in there, and I was trying to interact with them. So I was, I can't remember what I was doing. I was counting, and I was doing nursery rhymes and trying to get them to finish. And I've got this recording, and I was the only one down there. Everyone else was out, and I'm sitting there, and you hear, I think it was a nursery rhyme. I stopped, and then you hear kids giggling, like this guy's either this guy's funny or this guy's an idiot, but they were laughing. So things like that, little things. So yeah, I've had a lot. I had we experienced walking one of the fields during the day, and there was 2 men behind me talking, and I stepped, because I was filming. I stepped to get out the way, and there was no one there. Things like that. We heard gunshots. We heard cannon fire. a bunch of stuff. Yeah, yeah. We were doing an investigation. I went there with the first time I went there with Brad Kling from the Kling brothers, and his wife was there, and we all spread out. And she came with me, and we went up to one room, and we were doing a session, and you hear this growl like, and she's not really into it, but she turned around, and she goes, "Did you just hear that growl?" So we got on recorder, but it's yeah, that sort of thing. So we had a lot happen, great deal. So yeah, Gettysburg is a favorite for me, I'm afraid.
Yeah, I've never been out there myself either. Maybe next year we'll get out there.
Yeah, you know what? It is very commercial. They say it's commercialized. There is a lot of commercialized there, commercialization. The touristy things, but when you step back and you look at the history and you look at the preservation of these buildings, and there's ghostly images of Gettysburg. They run the Genuine House and the orphanage. Christina's the boss there. She's really good. But the tour guide, Rick, if you ask for Rick, he is a really cool tour guide. He's really good. And we hired both out just for us, and he actually come with us. He wasn't going to. He was going to stay outside. I said, "No, come along with us." And he learned a few things off us as well. But no, he was a very cool tour guide. So if you get there and you're going to go and hire those places out, after Rick. So yeah, he's become actually a good friend of mine. Mandy actually, the last couple of days there, she copped a really bad flu, and which was unfortunate. And he actually come pick me up and took me to the chemist to get her stuff and all sorts of things. So they're really good people. But it's a great place. You can really spend some time there. Yeah.
So if you had one bucket list location over here in the States, what location would it be out of the hundreds that we have?
Oh, that's a lot. I mean, I suppose like everyone else, I'd love to be locked up and get in overnight in Alcatraz or something like that. That would be really cool. But wow, it's a hard one. There's so many. I think, oh, geez. Now you put me right on the spot here. I mean, things like Waverly Hills or Trans-Allegheny or something like that, would be interesting. I love to spend more time in New Orleans. Do a bit more investigating there. We did a little, not a great deal. Was more check the place out sort of thing. But yeah, there's so many, but just more so for me it would be, like as I said with New Orleans, to actually spend more time in the location. We had like 3 days there, but more times to investigate the history side of things as well. And the cooler weather too would have been good as well. But anyways, it was really, really hot. But yeah, more an area. So I would like, as I said, like even Gettysburg, the bigger field, the bigger location, there. Spend more time in the outer areas and things like that. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's, we got probably 20 some locations we're hitting this summer, and it's just like
awesome.
It's so hard to pick and choose. It's like, okay, which ones do I really want to plan? And then which ones, you can't, if we had the time, I'd do them all.
Oh, for sure. And you know what, it's also financial too. Like, when you it's not just the hire of the location, it's it's you're traveling, it's your accommodation, it's your food, it's your and then if you're like me, two or three teenage sons, you basically got to steal a cow and
right.
It's a bigger picture, it's a financial thing as well.
Mm-hmm.
I just found out like one of the locations we're going to next month is for our elementary school, and that's owned by Sam and Colby, and my daughter's huge fans of them.
Oh, yep.
And I just found out that they actually sell Sam and Colby merch there. I'm just like, well, there goes my wallet.
Better start saving.
Yep. So I'm gonna have to, yeah, she's gonna get something from there.
Yeah, that's that's part of it. They to have them involved, but is you have your children involved with what you love is great. It's
Hmm.
great.
Oh yeah,
Like I
she
had
is
them.
like all in
Yeah,
on this, and
that's awesome.
she does most of it like we do when we go to locations. We do a little packet read of each location. So she's the one
Yep,
who's doing all the research and making those packets.
awesome,
She
awesome.
spends
That's really cool.
hours on that.
That's really cool. It's
Yeah.
and hey, it's something she's never going to forget as well. To spend time with dad, you know what I mean, and and the others, and it's. I always say it's about making memories.
Oh
Oh,
yeah.
for sure.
Yeah, years down
Always,
the road,
always.
there's going to be a lot of times where it's going to be like, remember that time?
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Oh,
We were, like as they get older, like my oldest, because I've been married twice. My two older children are with my first marriage, but Joey is my oldest with Amanda, and like he's traveled all over, like with me, and we were even last night we were heading in to do I do a walking tour of Melbourne, so I take people on to all these haunted locations, tell the stories, and we were talking about like things we've done together, like like even just last night, and it's that connection, and and
mhm.
he'll always have that, and my other boys will always have that too. There's that connection, and that's very important. You know?
It
the,
is.
the problem is with a lot of things, not just the paranormal. People invest so much time into what they love, like the paranormal, and sometimes that pushes the ones they should be focusing on away. And always say get family first, get them involved, or make sure that they're not being disadvantaged by your passion.
Yeah.
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 Yeah,
My daughter just turned 16 a while back, and yeah, she's been going along with us quite a bit too.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, it's that's all it's about, and if you can get them spending time with you with what you love, hey, that's a bonus,
Hmm.
wicked.
Yep. And like my daughter, she's out of all the locations we're going to, she says her favorite location still this year is going to be the poor farm we're going to in Redwood Falls, which is just
Oh,
like,
that, yeah,
a smaller, more simplistic location, but it's where
yep,
she had her first investigation. So,
yeah, yeah. So it's
Yeah.
important to her. That's really cool.
yep.
That's really good.
And the
Yeah.
spirits there are more on the gentle side, so it wasn't scary for her.
Well, that's always,
Yeah, the
yeah,
first
that's
time.
always good. It's because it is as people, people, as I said before, people feel what they don't understand, and if you can teach them that not all spirits, most spirits aren't bad. It's
Mhm.
and even the ones that are a bit nasty, they're just humans that are pissed off most of the time.
Yep.
Yeah, yeah,
But you don't automatically change when you pass. If you're an angry person, you know you may be angry when you still be angry when you die. It's
exactly.
yeah.
Yeah,
You don't automatically get a halo and wings. So
yeah, yeah.
yeah,
And most people don't realize that. Yeah, it's most of the spirits that are there in your everyday house is
yep,
somebody that lived there in the past. It's nothing
yeah.
creepy or demonic, or it's just somebody that was there.
Hmm.
Someone that's this is my house and what the hell are you doing here? A
Yeah,
lot of
exactly.
I mean, I find quite a few that don't even know their past. You know,
Yeah.
it's yeah. I also was saying, like, someone said to me last night on my tour, said, how do you get them to speak to you? I said, well, we talk to them like they like we would anyone else, polite, and hopefully get them to come forward, and to they and I said, we were talking, and I said a lot of them, I find that they haven't they may not have spoken to someone or had the opportunity to speak with someone for a long time, and they're excited to talk. You know,
Yeah.
you can imagine if you were somewhere for however many years and no one sees you, no one hears you, no one talks to you. Then all of a
Yeah.
sudden you've got this person. Some of them want to talk, and they want to talk a lot.
Yeah.
Others,
Yeah.
others won't.
one of the locations we went to last year, again, Wisconsin, again, we had a gal on Estes, and the spirit told her that we're actually talking to them. You know, and it gets like there must not be that many people that stand there and talk to them. You know,
No.
Get all the beepy things out and they not talk to them.
Yeah, well, that's another point for me is equipment. I got a big bear bug where people focus so much on the equipment they lose their they focus on the equipment, they lose the environment. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
So, I had a big experience. See, when I investigate for myself now, I use a voice recorder and a camera or a video camera, but when we do the tours, we have all the gadgets, that flash and buzz, and because people want to have that, they want to see that, they want to understand how they work, and I get that, but I think as you get, it's like with anything, you start and you want everything, and then you simplify. When you come back full circle, you simplify, and you've worked out that, hey, like I did, for example, that's off topic, but I did martial arts since I was very little. And, you start training and you learn all the complicated stuff. And as you get further along, you come full circle and you realize that simplicity is what works best. Mm-hmm. So same with, and I applied that to investigating. You'll go through when you start and you get all the gadgets and you'll get everything. And, then you realize you don't need all them. They come through. Not saying equipment's not bad. I got one of my best mates runs Spirit Tech, which is an equipment company here, and does great work, and it's really good stuff. And the gadgets are great, But for myself, a voice recorder and a camera. Now I had an experience going through Airedale Asylum. I was taking a bunch of investigators through, and they're all got their gadgets out. They got their their nanometers and their K2s and whatever else they had, and I was watching them, and they're all focusing. And some of my guys too. They're all looking at this gear, and we're in the female wards. So if you imagine the building front, we were on this side, and I got a little bit narky, a little bit upset. Not upset, but I thought, you're missing so much, like the whole environment. You're not seeing the environment. And I went, all right. Stop. Turn your gadgets off. Put them away. And I had my back towards this line of windows. So you can imagine an old ward line of windows. So I had my back towards these windows. And I had people in front of me, and they sort of made like almost a U shape. And the moon was a full moon. There was light coming in. So I could see them perfectly. And I said, we're just going to stand for a couple of minutes and just listen. And I'm quiet, and I'm watching these guys. I'm making sure. Thinking, yeah, listen, watch the environment. And then all their faces, so especially the ones I was looking at the front, their mouths, they all dropped, they went like this. And I went, okay, well, what did you see? Behind me, crossing about 3 windows, was a female patient in a hospital robe, walked behind me. Right?
Cool.
These spirits must have been listening to me and must have helped me out, because they are really amazing there. But these guys, I proved my point. I said, if you guys had been looking at your gear, you wouldn't have seen that.
Yep. Yeah.
So now, if we're doing an investigation, and not where we're walking through a 63 building location, but say we're setting up on a house, we always make sure any gear we have operation, we have either a lock camera on it, so something filming it. We have either it records, like the millimeters can record their readings. The new Ovuluses record their data. So but I want the people's senses in the environment, not on a gadget.
Mm-hmm.
That's just me, right? But that story is absolutely 100% true and was perfect. It was like, as I said, it's like the spirits were listening to me and helped me out to prove my point.
Nice.
I mean, but that's a great location. They it's very active, and so something might have happened even if I wasn't, even if they were looking and they just wouldn't have seen it.
Yeah.
So besides the Lone Star Paracon coming up this month, what else do you have going on this year?
Well, we actually have two smaller expos in development here in Victoria, with two different organizations that we're working with. We have new tours coming up, or re-establishing our tours up at the Trades Hall. After Christmas, we had a break over Christmas, and they're getting renovations done, so we had to wait a little bit. So we're getting them re-established. I've literally just started to do, the Ghosts of Melbourne walking tour again, which is a big hit with people. They take them around and tell the stories of the locations. Bundoora Park Farm, we have, we're doing basically 4 times more there than we have been doing. So everything's getting built up. A whole series of workshops, lectures, and training, which is newly coming up. We're actually looking at getting I developed a training course on how the APS do stuff, and we're looking at getting that put into some sort of adult education environment where we can teach people through there. Lots of things. More a lot of research, planning. We actually have a bunch of books outlined, ready to write. So Amanda has several more of her. She has a series of books called From the Mind of a Medium, and there's 2 volumes out at the moment, and they're all about different things to do with being a medium, how training almost, and people are using them to develop their own abilities. So there's 2 of them. There's a third and the fourth, I think it is, in development at the moment. She's writing the notes at the moment. My Ghost of Melbourne has that's actually going to be a series of about 6 books. The first one's out. I have the notes for the next 3 pretty much ready to go. I just have to find the time to sit down and actually write them.
Yeah.
So yeah, a lot of things going on. Building this community. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. So as well as investigations, we just had a big location that have asked us to come in and initially do some investigating for them to see if the stories are true. I can't even say the name yet because it's one everyone's been trying to get into and no one's actually got into for years, and we're waiting on paperwork. So I got to be a bit hush, but that's a really interesting location, and possibly become a place we can go to on a regular basis. Yeah.
Nice.
So a bunch of other investigations, and events and things, and it's gonna be a big year. Yeah,
That's
sounds
cool.
busy. Yeah.
So before I turn it over to Laurel, how we end the podcast, I briefly brought it up before we started the podcast. So my daughter Natalie wants to know how her Saturday is going to start out since you're already in Saturday.
Oh, well, us in the future. I think she's going to have a wonderful Saturday. Hopefully her voice comes back and she's all well, and she can come back on the next podcast with you. So,
all right, sounds good.
That's my prediction.
I told her I go.
Just call me Nostra Bill.
Right. I told her I go. How they are on Saturday, he can't tell you how your Saturday is going to be because it's just it doesn't work that way.
No, it's what it's confusing. Like I always, my other friends over there, I'll wish it'll pop up. It's so and so's birthday, and I'll wish them, and they always come back. You're always the first. I say, yeah, because we're in the future. So,
right.
Yeah.
Like I was talking to one of my students, I go, yeah, we're doing a podcast with somebody from Australia. She goes, that is so crazy that you could be living on the same planet, but talking to somebody that's a day ahead of you in the
in
future.
different days. I know it is
Yeah.
weird.
She
It
goes,
feels
time
really
travel
weird.
is real.
Yes, absolutely. I still want one of those, Doctor Who boxes where you can get in and
Yeah, the TARDIS.
the TARDIS, exactly.
That'd be pretty
But
sweet.
yeah, so no, it is funny. It is funny. But my son's Joe's he's off to Japan in May. He's always been fascinated with Japan, but he's going to do some investigating while he's over there. And we were checking the time out, and I thought it would have been like a day or so difference, but it's like 2 hours difference. So yeah, it's amazing, with these meridians, these time meridians. It feels that, as you said, like different days, and we can still talk. It's
Yeah,
crazy stuff. So
definitely.
yeah.
Okay, so the last thing we do is give you an opportunity to promote any socials you want us to. Well, I'll try to link them under the video if I can find them.
Problem. No problem. Well, we have anyone that's local or anyone that's coming traveling to Australia. We have a bunch of tours coming up. We've got Bandura Park Farm, which you can find in our on our site, our Facebook site. We will be having Trades Hall, which there's nothing up there at the moment because we only just got the dates worked out, and they will be up in the next day or two. We will have more Ghosts of Melbourne tours coming up. Workshops. We have I actually have a workshop. What's the time? It's 12 o'clock here. In an hour and a half, I have a workshop or a lecture called Voices of the Dead, which is coming up this afternoon. There'll be a lot more lectures and workshops coming up. Just keep an eye on the Australian Paranormal Facebook page, Australian Paranormal Society Facebook page, and if you're in the area, yep, jump on and come and visit. If you're coming to Australia, so if you're from the States or wherever you're listening to, if you're coming to Australia and you want to find out what you can do, where you're going, doesn't matter where it's in Australia. I have contacts everywhere. Feel free to contact me, and we'll help you do some planning and maybe set you up with some investigations. So we're really open to help people. We want people to travel. We want people to come visit. We want to go visit and and make experiences, make memories. That's a big part of what we promote. Make your experiences. For me now, the evidence is important, but for people to have experiences is just as important. And big thank you to you guys for having me on. I had a lot of fun. You guys are awesome.
Yeah,
for sure.
I'm watching your work, and I'm loving it, guys. So you're doing a bang up job.
Well, thank you, and we will definitely get something set up in the future for a return podcast.
Yeah. I'm always up to talk.
All right, sounds good.
Thanks, guys.
Yep, you have a great night.
You too, buddy.
All right, bye.
All right. Thanks, gentlemen.
This has been Nightmare: Stories of the Other Side, a production of Nightmare Explorers.